So guys, I'm not in the studio today, but I wanted to talk about really quick the Real Madrid game today. I think it's crazy what we saw. Where I thought maybe, coming off of a loss in the final against Barcelona, coming off from getting rid of your coach, one day of practice, coming back from Saudi Arabia, you train and then you play. I said it in the video before. I think they compressed Real Madrid's schedule too much. It ends up sabotaging them because they had to fly the day after or the same day. They train, which is a quick training, recovery training, and then all of a sudden you're traveling again. Not only that, Real Madrid today traveled with maybe missing half of their starters. Tchouaméni did not travel, Bellingham did not travel, Rodrigo did not travel, Mbappe did not travel. So today they started off with, in the back, it was an academy player on the right back, because Valverde doesn't want to play right back anymore. They brought in a right back from the academy. Lunin played instead of Courtois. Courtois also didn't travel. They had Asensio and Hausen, and on the left it was Fran. So Carreras didn't travel either. In the middle they had they had another academy player, I'm not exactly sure his name, with Valverde and Arda Güler. Bellingham did not travel. Tchouaméni did not travel either. And then up top you had Vinny, Gonzalo, and Mastantuono. Rodrigo didn't go, Mbappe didn't go. So you had those players. I think from the starting squad, I think the ones that traveled were Carvajal, who today was not ready. That last goal and possibly the second goal, both his fault because they come from that wing. And then, that's a plane. Sorry, I'm recording this outside. But then you have Camavinga comes in after. So you have it right there. Like, it wasn't the full squad, but even with this squad, even with not all the starters, you would think that against a second division team that you do a lot better, right? That you would probably win the game. And maybe you might struggle because the morale's not there and you're tired, you got tired feet, but it just wasn't enough. What I think I want to talk about a lot is during the Barcelona game, in the 90 minutes, because it didn't go to overtime, Valverde and Vinny come off at the end of the game, like the 80th minute or something like that, with supposed injuries. Maybe it was that they were tired, they had tired legs, but I think it was kind of an excuse, and just 2-3 days later, they're starting and they're playing the entire 90 minutes. So that's an interesting thing that happened today. Another thing is the fact that you let a second division team score more than once is very crazy. Let's talk about the first half really quick. The first half, so I was watching on ESPN. The crowd put a lot of like the smoke bombs, and I don't know if it was the same on the field. From the ESPN broadcast, you could barely see anything. Those first 30-40 minutes of the game, you could barely see anything on the field. I don't know if it was like that on the field, but that does condition the visiting team. Real Madrid has to play in a crowd that is really passionate, that are making it difficult for everybody. So that was very interesting to see them, kind of set the conditions of the game. And I think that affected Real Madrid. Real Madrid coming off of a loss, they have to play a round of 16 match against a second division team that wants to win, that's going to give them everything. And you're going to have to go and hustle for a result today. And I think the Real Madrid players were not willing to do that until the very last minute, where they had to, try to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And by then it was too late. I think when they get the 1-1, it was positive because they did get scored on first. Then they get the 1-1. They go into halftime 1-1. It's like, okay, we're coming back 0-0. Try to find a couple goals in the second half, and you're good. But it didn't work out that way. Albacete comes back and starts with a 2-1. I think it was around the 75th minute. Real Madrid ties it really, really at the end. And you're thinking, okay, 2-2. They're going to go into overtime, and Real Madrid will win it in overtime. But sure enough, there wasn't even time. It wasn't even time for overtime. They went straight and scored on them with 3-4 minutes left, and that was all. And it's just I think it's the worst thing that could have happened was that third goal. And it was a golazo, but it was a goal that I think was so avoidable. And I'd say it was kind of Lunin's fault. I think he was really up top. But at the same time, you break through Carvajal and you have the first post right there. So I understand why he was standing there. They got beat in the second post, and Carvajal got beat. And Carvajal, coming off an injury, you put him at the end stages of a game of that caliber, of that intensity, because it's an intense game. I know you're dealing with a second division team, but you're dealing with a team that wants to win, and they're going to give it their all. And not only that, there were a lot of players that were from the Real Madrid Academy in Albacete today. So it kind of poetic justice, because, you have teams like Barcelona who really trust their academy players and they play them. And then you have Real Madrid that sells or loans out their academy players to bring in superstars. And today, those loaned out players, those sold players from the academy, went and showed Real Madrid how it's done. It's very interesting. If you guys know me, I'm not a Real Madrid fan. I'm kind of a Real Madrid hater. I'm a Barca fan. But today I wanted Real Madrid to win for selfish reasons. I think Real Madrid winning today, will exhaust them, but it'll carry them. But at the same time, they'll have to play that quarterfinal. Then if they win the quarterfinal, they'll have to play that semifinal. And then I was hoping maybe quarterfinal, semifinal, you eliminate Real Madrid, eliminate who I think is the second best team in Spain, and give Barcelona a better chance to win it. But now, Real Madrid is not going to have to play that quarterfinal. Barcelona will have to play that quarterfinal. And then they're going to have to play the two semifinal legs. And then they're going to have to play the final, if they make it, obviously, which I think they will. It's a lot more games for Barcelona than Real Madrid. Real Madrid gets the rest. They get to focus on La Liga. They get to focus on Champions League. I know Real Madrid aspires to win everything, but Real Madrid mentality, if you ask anybody, all that matters is the Champions League. So now they get to focus on the Champions League, and I think it's a little bit of an advantage to them. But at the same time, Real Madrid fans are not happy, so whatever. It is what it is. I think if you want to look at the glass half full, you have more rest. You have more days to rest. The players have more days to rest. You get to focus on the other competitions, and it's perfect. But as far as Copa del Rey, they're eliminated. Barcelona has one less threat to that competition. I think it's almost for sure going to be Barcelona. Obviously, they have to win tomorrow, but let's see. But as for Real Madrid, it's a disaster. I don't think it could be any worse than what's happening right now with Real Madrid. I look at the positive, which to me is a negative, that they have that break. But if you're looking at the pure negative, they got bounced by a second division team in Copa del Rey in the round of 16. It's bad. And a day or 2 days after getting ready to coach, 3 days after losing a final, it's bad. It's these past 3-4 days for Real Madrid, for a fan, for the players, it's tough. And now you can't blame Xabi Alonso. Now you can't blame the coach. Now it's all about the players. Now you're looking at Florentino and saying, yo, did you make the right decision? Because had you waited, had you respected that Real Madrid actually competed against Barcelona and given Xabi Alonso this game too, I think they would have won it. But now you have turmoil in the locker room. I think what's going on with Real Madrid in the sporting level is something to really pay attention to. I love it as a hater, but at the same time, like as a lover of football, I look at that situation, I'm like, that's tough. How do you fix that? You got to get rid of players. You got to get rid of a mentality that's in there that's toxifying the locker room. It's tough. It's very tough. So let's see what happens. What's next for Real Madrid, I think, is Levante on the weekend, on Saturday. So they got the game on Saturday. It's going to be tough for them. Aside from that, not much else to say. Vinny disappeared. Vinny was being double-teamed the entire game, and he wasn't enough. But what I find crazy is that Vinny was able to break through Condé and Cubarsí and Eric Garcia and De Jong during the Clásico, and he had an amazing game. And then against the second division team, they double-team him, and he just absolutely disappears. Mastantuono is constantly being shown to be somewhat of a marketing disappointment. Someone that they brought to compete with the image of Lamine Yamal, an 18-year-old right winger that is the future of their country and is the future of the team, and someone to compete at a young age. And Mastantuono is the furthest you can from Lamine Yamal, and he's showing that he's not ready. I think he had a few good games in Argentina. I don't think he was ready to leave. I think he left River Plate way too early. He went to a team like Real Madrid way too early. And, he's fighting for a spot in the World Cup. And at this rate, I don't think he's going to get there because he's not at the level to be playing Real Madrid. And, you're not at the level. How much are you really going to play? it's tough. It's a tough situation. Gonzalo gets the goal. Mastantuono gets the other goal. Valverde continues to be a disappointing player. For me, I think Valverde is a little bit overrated for what they say he is. Yeah, he's a athletic monster. He's a competitive monster. He runs, he tackles physically. He is a very superior player to a lot of players. But besides that, he's not a creative midfielder. He doesn't really do anything. I don't think he's a good captain. I don't think he's a good leader. The fact that he was constantly upset having to play right back, like, dude, you're in Real Madrid. They need you to play in a position. You play it, and you play at your best, and you change your entire repertoire just to fit on that team and try to win it. But to be complaining about playing a certain position, all that stuff, I think it's ridiculous. Camavinga comes off the bench, not too much. Arda Güler was, as we know, a robbery. Barcelona wanted Arda Güler, so sure enough, Florentino Perez had to stick his hands and try to steal that player from Barcelona, and now you have it. He doesn't fit. He's not a player for that team, because that team thrives on individualities, and that player is the type of player that needs to be associative. I think, imagine Arda Güler with Pedri, imagine him with Frankie de Jong, imagine him with Fermin. It would have been a different story. But with the likes of Valverde and Tchouaméni and whatever academy players that come out of Real Madrid, who constantly depends on individualities to win, it's not going to work. And it's not working. So you see just really a lot of mistakes. And I think it starts with the fact that Florentino Perez doesn't want a sporting director. He wants to be the guy who brings in all the players, and he drives all his decisions through marketing. And you're seeing it. Real Madrid is an absolute disaster. It's honestly, at this point, it's not even fun to watch. It's bad. It's bad. It's a bad look, and I look at him. It's kind of embarrassing. So let's see how this story finishes. It's a tough moment for a Real Madrid fan. I think it's a funny moment for Barcelona fans, but at the same time, like, you look at that and you're like, whatever. There's not much else you can say. The defense, Housen is being a disappointment. Asensio's been a disappointment. You brought in Trent Alexander-Arnold, has played a handful of games because he's always injured. Rudiger's injured, Militao's injured, Carreras didn't play today. You have Fran Garcia. I don't know what Fran Garcia is doing in that team. He's played through 3 coaches, and all 3 coaches have not been able to get the best out of him. He's not for Real Madrid. And Andre Lunin, I think could have done better. Why not take Courtois? Was Courtois really that tired? Like, I don't know. It's a lot of shaky decisions, a lot of really weird decisions that are being taken, and I don't know whose decisions they are. I don't know if it's the player saying, yo, we're tired, we're not going to travel, or was it the coach that said, I trust the young guys to get a good result against a second division team, and I don't blame him for thinking that was a possibility. And then you have Florentino. Maybe Florentino said, yo, just let these guys rest, let them rest for the weekend. They've been, I don't know whose decision it was to bring these players and to leave the rest of the players behind, but off the bench you had nothing because of it. So very tough, very, very questionable, those decisions, but it is what it is. This is what we have. So Real Madrid is eliminated. Tomorrow Barcelona plays against Racing Santander, and we'll see what the quarterfinals look like. But what we know for sure is Real Madrid won't be there. So guys, leave me a like, subscribe, leave me some comments. Tell me what you think about Real Madrid. Tell me what you think about Barcelona. Tell me, what videos you want to see. If you want to see other things, let me know. Hit the comments. But I'll see you on the next one for tomorrow for the post reaction to Barcelona Racing. See ya.